I have been working on just, how do I say this? Hello, welcome back to another video. For the past week, and probably for the rest of this week, I have only been working in my sketchbook. I haven't been trying to create any actual pieces or anything like that. However, a lot of what I've been doing, I have been frustrated with. So some of the pages that you saw at the beginning of this video, I think anytime you scribble something out in a sketchbook, you're over it. I feel like these are really great ideas, but I don't feel like I have the skill to execute them the way that I want. I think on the journey of any sort of creative practice, whether you're an artist, working with a pencil and paper, or you're doing some other creative thing like writing or making music or whatever, there comes a point where you have an idea in your head and you don't yet have the skills to execute that idea in the way that you see it in your head. The last couple days, I've been pretty discouraged about that. I've been really frustrated that that is the situation that I'm in right now. However, this morning, I'm feeling a lot more positive about it because I'm suddenly realizing, oh, if I have ideas that I feel like are really good, but I don't yet have the skill to execute them in the way that I'm envisioning, that's a good problem to have, because now all I need to do is work on my skill. And skill, your technical ability, is something that you can change. That's something that you can work on and improve and get better at. Whereas ideas, you can get better at coming up with ideas. I do think that's possible. However, I think it's much harder than improving your technical ability. So having a surplus of ideas is a good problem to have. So right now, I just want to work on my technical skills, and that doesn't need to be finished pieces. That just needs to be chaos in a sketchbook. I'm also doing some master copies. So this over here is just a little sketch of Remy from Ratatouille. Last night, I did this little sketch. I did it based off of a photo of myself, and I think it turned out really great. And I think I wouldn't have made something like this if I didn't make these ugly ones earlier. So yeah, 30-minute timer. I know I've talked about this in videos before, but master copies is a technique in traditional or fine art learning where an amateur or a beginner artist learns how to paint or draw like a professional by copying professional work. I'm not very good at the talking while doing something thing yet, so. My background and a lot of what I've learned art-wise thus far in my life has been fine art, traditional art learning. So the concept of master copies is not foreign to me at all. I've done them before. However, in the realm of illustration, which is very different than fine art, I had never thought about doing master copies before. That's not something I ever considered doing. I don't know why. I think in the back of my head I was always like, well, if you copy someone else's illustration, you're just stealing. Like there's nothing to learn by copying them, so if you're copying them, it's just because you're trying to steal their work, which is delusional, because there's definitely something to learn by copying other illustrators who have really mastered their craft, who are really great at all the different aspects that go into doing good illustration. But then on top of that, there's no way I would be stealing if all I'm doing is learning. Like, I'm not posting these things on the internet as my own. It's just a learning tool. It's no different than creating a master copy of The Last Supper or the Mona Lisa in order to learn how to paint like Da Vinci. Like, literally no different. If I want to learn how to paint like Da Vinci, a great way to learn that is to try and copy his work. So if I want to learn how to illustrate like Beatrix Potter, why wouldn't I do the same thing?
What?
1 second, ice break. Got the ice. Made it a little too sweet. Anyway, so making master copies as an illustrator is me trying to learn. I've really realized that with my background and what I have learned art-wise, I've never really done any kind of studying of visual storytelling because my background is very much rooted in realism. When you're learning how to draw or paint realistically, you're usually just working off of photographs. You're just trying to make it match. So you're not really making that many composition decisions. You're not really trying to tell a story. You're not really trying to organize all the information in a way that visually says something. I don't know really anything about good composition. I'm very inexperienced in character design or showing expressions or feelings in a picture. Yeah, I don't know any of that stuff. For instance, last night I was doing a master copy of this illustration and I was mainly just focused on this character. This is the main character in the story. And something I was noticing in me trying to mimic exactly what I see is that there's really subtle things that tell you a lot of information about who this character is. Just the way that her legs are crossed in this illustration, the way that her pinky is sticking out but like kind of crooked when she's drinking her tea. Even this pinky over here is sticking out too. Those are all intentional decisions that the person who illustrated this book made, and those are the kinds of decisions that I want to be able to make. Those are the kinds of things that I want to be able to do in my work, but I don't know how to do that. So that's why I'm doing master copies, because I want to learn. I feel a little overwhelmed. I feel like I have a lot to learn, and of course I always feel behind. I always feel like I should be doing more, but I also am excited because I feel like I have more information than I've ever had before, and I'm like, wow, I actually like have a better understanding of where I should go from here, what I should be doing. So yeah. I think maybe like a month ago, I started doing this thing where before I start work for the day, I will draw for 30 minutes. I usually will set a timer on my phone so that I don't get carried away and then I'm drawing for way longer than 30 minutes. One of the key challenges of having a day job and trying to do something on the side is always feeling discouraged, like you're not doing enough. At least that's one of the main challenges for me. I have to do my job, that is important, and almost every single time that comes first. And so a lot of times that means I'll work, for 5 hours, 8 hours a day, and then I'll get to the end of the day, it's like 6 p.m., it's time to make dinner, and I haven't touched art stuff. Like, forget about making YouTube videos or making content or sharing online. I haven't even picked up a pencil, opened my sketchbook, and I don't know about you, but for me that's a really discouraging feeling because it makes me feel like I'm not making any progress towards my goals. I'm not achieving anything. It makes me feel like a fraud too. It makes me feel like a complete imposter, like I have no business calling myself an artist because I didn't make any art today. And so obviously there's days where that just doesn't work. I mean, last week I didn't make any art because I was traveling for my job, we were hosting a conference, there were so many things going on, so I didn't touch my sketchbook at all last week. But I think ordinary days, it's possible, and it's just a matter of framing your time correctly. And so for me, getting something that is really important to me but doesn't take a lot of time out of the way first thing before I get into my work, before I open my inbox, before I'm looking at all my tasks, gives me a really big boost. And it also, on the flip side, it makes me better at my job, I feel like, because I've already accomplished something when I'm walking into work that day, and I'm already oh, I have this momentum, I'm getting stuff done, I already feel good about myself. So I think it makes me better at my job. And then also, at the end of the day at 6 p.m., if I'm totally dead tired, if I have nothing else left to give, I don't have to feel guilty, I don't have to feel bad because I did make some art today. I did open my sketchbook. That being said, usually what I've been doing is before I start work, for 30 minutes I'll set a timer, I just go to town in my sketchbook. The screaming